So the Nokia X looks like it's going to be a low-end Android handset, but I still think there's real room for a really high-end device, something that really rivals the HTC One 2, the Galaxy S5, whatever comes from Sony. I mean, what does Nokia need to do to make itself a real rival to those? What can it put on an Android handset to make it exciting?
The ultimate sort of Android handset for me would have stock Android, or something which closely resembles stock Android. I really like the setup that Google's got there. It works really well. It's nice and fluid. Anyone familiar with it will make the easy transition potentially from a Samsung or an HTC to a Sony to a Nokia. If it's too different, they may be put off. So it needs that sort of familiar Android feel to it.
See, I think that, if it's going to have Android, it needs to be something different from stock. We've already got that on, the Play devices, Nexus devices. I think Nokia, it's got some skills in making interfaces. Let's forget about Symbian, but it knows what it's doing. So I think it should be skinning it, and I think it should be making it a little bit better than just the stock Android. Absolutely keep some of the main elements, but I think something more like Motorola's done with the G, a little bit of flavour here and there, and just adding in something different. Now, what Nokia definitely can bring is camera. I think, the PureView stuff is a little bit, prosumer to some people, but it is great. It does give you good pictures. There's no doubt about that. The 1020, the 808, they're kind of niche devices, but they really bring some stuff. So what I'd like to see is, a 25, 30 megapixel camera that involves PureView technology and brings that to Android. We've got things that go maybe 20 megapixels tops right now, but that's just an iteration on top of previous ideas. I think Nokia is really clever with its camera technology, and it needs to really add that to the Android space.
Yeah, I totally agree. Nokia has loads of good software implementation and integration that it can bring to a potential Android phone as well. It's worked closely with Microsoft to bring the integration of the Office suite to Windows Phone. So to see that being properly integrated with Android would be great for many users. Proper Word, proper Excel, nicely laid out and working fluidly on your handset would be a massive bonus.
Yeah, I think that, and you could also bring Outlook as well. Take these iterations and make them something really exciting. Make them something that an Android handset doesn't have already. And there's very little that people can do now. I mean, you've got things like Google's Quick Office, which is good, but that's the next step. Microsoft's got this real IP that it can use. Whether Nokia would be allowed to bring it to Android is another question altogether. But if it was, that'd be really great. It would almost make Nokia the business user's handset of choice, and I think that's something that really needs to happen. It needs to be something that you haven't got already. Samsung's making a play with Knox, but Nokia could really go in there and make a big difference. Now, what I'm interested to see is, the live tile aspect of Windows Phone is really good, but could that be brought to Android in a better way? I mean, widgets are cool, and we've always talked about wanting them on more devices, but live tiles are really good if they work properly. Information in front of you, glanceability is really important, and I think that Nokia could take that, what it's learned from there, and just have these little tiles in the background, even like live wallpapers that update and show you what you need to know, and it could be something that you can really customize, really get involved with, and really add the stuff that matters to you. It's just launched those treasure tag things. Imagine that, so your back of your phone was telling you how far away your keys were. It's stuff like that Nokia has had a good grounding in, because its research and development is so strong. And I think that's what needs to come to Android. I think it really needs to make sure its innovation comes from just Windows Phone and Symbian and actually has a place in the Android market.
I mean, Windows Phone has the advantage of being a very simple UI for someone who's not really used to smartphones or is not particularly tech savvy. And so bring that sort of interface to an Android phone would be beneficial, because some users find it a bit complicated or a bit convoluted. Something that Huawei is actually working on is a simple UI, which is recently announced alongside the Y530. It is a tile-based sort of UI, making the icons nice and big, nice and clear, really simple stuff. I mean, they don't live update, so if Nokia could do something along that lines, but with the live update feature as well, that could be a real winner at the end of the market, where people are looking for their first smartphone, or a smartphone for a younger member of the family, or maybe a grandparent.
It's all very well to think about that, but we're going down into Windows Phone route again. I think Nokia needs to go really hard and really high-end on what it does with an Android phone. So let's think, hardware-wise, it's only just got into 1080p screens with, the 1520. Only just started to see a quad-core processor. Let's ramp that up. Let's see a 64-bit processor on Android from Nokia, because we know it can work with that. Let's see a 2K screen on a larger device. I know that's probably going to be the upper limit of what the human eye can see, but it's still worth having it there. And I think that a Nokia device that has, like I said, the innovation that Nokia can bring, and actually would make a really decent amount of screen technology, and something that really rivals Super AMOLED or Super LCD, and just get loads of storage in there. Use micro SD cards and just really hit all the high points that people want.
Or just put 128 gig in. Yeah, Apple has 64 gig handsets already. The iPad's already at 128. The technology must be there now that will fit in a phone. There may be a cost implication, but if we're talking about a top-end Nokia Android phone to really make it stand out among the other big hitters, yeah, 128 gig of storage and no micro SD slot, that would be fine.
I think that would really help, with the Android apps, giving you some more space to use all that, and it make people feel like the whole experience was complete. So I think there's a lot of nostalgia and there's still a lot of love, despite all the troubles that Nokia's gone through. An Android handset that comes from Nokia could really still work. I really hope we see something that pushes way beyond the low end and starts to challenge the main players.